We're going to talk about comfort zones this week, and what happens when we stay too long in the comfort zone. So let's get to it. Comfort zones, they have their good points and their bad points. So comfort zones, we tend to run our lives on autopilot. We can feel very secure there. We can feel very confident in our abilities. But this can be quite fooling in a way, because when life throws a curveball at you, you get knocked out of that easy chair, that snug little fit that we're in, that comfort zone. And we may not be able to handle it as well, because if we stay too long, it can make us complacent. And that means we can be taking ourselves for granted, and we can be taking others for granted. We can, become mentally lazy because, as I said, we're running things on autopilot. We can tend to neglect our dreams and our goals. We're not developing any new skill sets or taking any risks. Um, we're less resilient, as I said. We get knocked by life, and everything can be ticking along, and then we're suddenly knocked, and we're not as resilient to face up to any kind of adversity. We also have a tendency to increase our negative thinking when we're in the comfort zone, and to isolate ourselves a bit more. So therefore, we're putting ourselves at a bigger risk of creating mental health issues for ourselves. So that's important that we're aware of that. Now, in saying that, we need to raise our awareness about this. The question changes, and we have to ask ourselves, have we outstayed our welcome in the comfort zone? That's the first question we really need to ask ourselves. So to raise our awareness, because you're the only one that's going to be able to see this. And it might be a case that you're feeling stuck. You might feel a bit stuck. Um, so you got to ask yourself, when was the last time you tried something new? Did you feel something needs to change, or do you feel like you want to change something in your life? Have you learned anything new in the last 6 months? Do you feel you do too much every day, particularly for other people? And then, if you're asking yourself this question, is am I doing too much? If my to do list is constant, we're getting caught on that hamster wheel. And although you can say, oh, that's not a comfort zone, it is actually, because you're comfortable, you're just getting comfortable there, keeping yourself busy. So, why are you keeping yourself busy? We're usually keeping ourselves busy as a form of distraction. And that's for a reason. So what's that reason? Why are you doing that? And you really need to be honest with yourself when you ask yourself these questions, particularly around your to-do list and keeping yourself busy. And as always, another question you can ask yourself there is, have you taken a risk lately? Now, all those questions, are in the blog. So do check it out. It's at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com/blog. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. So raising your awareness and maybe using those questions, or if any other questions then spring to mind as a result of this, maybe break it down per area of your life as well. That's what I would do. And just see where you are. So then, what did you find out? That's your next question. What did I find out when I did a little bit of searching? Are you sitting too comfortably in your comfort zone, or have you been stepping out a little bit? It doesn't have to be a big amount when we step out of our comfort zone. It's like more like dipping the toe in the water and coming back and doing it again until we shift a little bit forward, small steps at a time. So when you're asking yourself, what did I find out? Am I sitting too comfortably in that comfort zone? For around this question, then you've got to really trust your gut here. And as I said, you've got to be honest. Think about where you are right now in your life at this moment in time. Are you sitting, comfortably in that chair, in that comfort zone? Or are you so comfortable that you feel like you're almost wrapped up in a duvet and sleeping through your life? Because that's even more of a shift backwards than the comfort zone. And that can be quite dangerous to us. It's really opening us up to problems that I listed at the start. Or as I said, are you dipping the toe in the water, taking tiny steps every day to move your self forward, and just trying to inch into that new comfort zone a little bit at a time. Now there is an image of in the blog if you want to understand what I'm trying to say there, that shows you, there's the sitting too comfortably, sitting, sleeping through life, and then there's the comfort zone, and then there's, dipping the toe in the water and trying to shift things on. So do have a look at that image. It might describe it, or you might be able to visualize it a bit more for yourself when you're answering the questions that we've just been talking about. So once you decide where you are in those circles, there's 3 circles. So, the question has to become, does where you are on that circle serve you and your goals, your life? Does it serve you, or has it served its purpose? And, it's now time to change things up. Again, ask yourself to be honest with yourself, because we can shy away from answering that question all simply because we're afraid. It's scary. Change is scary. It really is. It can be scary to try and shift ourselves out. But we have to remember, we're never really staying still. Even when we think we are, we're fooling ourselves. Like I said at the start, we can fool ourselves into thinking, we're in that tiny spot, but we're actually not. We're actually constantly evolving. Physically and mentally, emotionally, every day, we're constantly evolving as human beings. So we have to acknowledge that. And this is where the second part of change always comes in. As I say, awareness is always our first step, but acceptance is now going to be your key here. Because it's okay to sit and take comfort in the comfort zone if you need it for a while, for a little while. Think about it as regrouping. You don't have to constantly be pushing yourself forward all the time. It's okay to recharge and take stock, regroup, as I said. So accepting where you are right now is okay. That's okay. This is where I'm at. I just need to acknowledge that. This is where I'm at this moment in time in my life. And it's okay to acknowledge that, because by acknowledging that, raising your awareness and acknowledging it, you're shifting yourself a little bit forward. That small, tiny bit. And even by acknowledging it, that can, make the transition for a change, a small step. And it's always about small steps, moving us forward. And it can also too sometimes be enough to stop us from falling backwards into that sleeping through life zone that I talked about there. So then we can become more proactive in our steps. So first step is awareness, second step being acceptance, and then the third step is, of course, to take action. But we have already taken some action in awareness, and we've taken more action in acceptance. But so therefore, if we've done that, we're being more proactive in our third stage, in our taking action. And that's vitally important if you want to be proactive about things rather than being reactive. So, you've got to ask yourself then another question, what have you been putting off? What have I been putting off, either doing or trying, because it would step me outside my comfort zone? Now again, it can be scary to step outside the comfort zone. And if you're trying to make a whole life change, that's, it's too much. It's going to be too overwhelming. And any change we make, even tiny amounts, increments in one area, will have a knock-on effect on all the other areas. So even breaking it down and going, okay, this is the one that's really pressing. This area of my life needs to change. And it's the one that I need to take the most action in. So, remembering that it doesn't have to be a big goal. It doesn't have to be a big step. It doesn't have to be a big decision. Because that will probably be a step too far. And we'll only retreat. We'll probably even retreat even further back. So it's better to take small actionable steps. As I said, just dip the toe in the water and then come back to the comfort zone. Dip the toe in the water, come back until you get comfortable. Get comfortable there, and then you shift the comfort zone on a little bit. So look at one area, See what maybe you need to do in that area. That's the most pressing area. And as I said, whatever you do there is going to have a ripple effect on all the other areas of your life. So the question is like, what's one actionable step that you could take right now? Is it something you could do immediately in the next few minutes? Even one, 60-second task just to get you moving today. Or something you can do today by the end of the day. Make a decision to try something small and then just do it. It'll give you the shift up to do it. This is going to give you confidence as well as build the momentum if you're taking that little step and then take the next little step. So it could mean anything, depending on where you are and what you want to look at in your life. So for instance, it could be eliminating something from your to-do list. Remember I talked about being busy for the sake of busy, because you're using it as really a distraction from the main issue that you need to tackle. So maybe it's time to delete something or hand something back. I always talk about that. Busy people are always taking on more and more, so sometimes we need to hand it back to the responsible adults that should own it, that do own it, and we need to hand it back there. Can we delete it? Can we delegate it? Can we ask for help? Maybe it can be something as simple as you've always wanted to try something, a hobby for instance, or an interest. Make a call about it. Find out about a class. A call will take you, a few minutes. It's one action step that you can actually take. Maybe it's just to phone a friend and arrange a coffee. That's an action step. And then going for the coffee is another step. But you're just phoning the friend. Or just maybe it's time to take some me time. Take 10 minutes out. Sit outside if it's a nice day and relax just for 10 minutes. Go for a walk if you want to. But you're taking some me time away from, keeping busy. So, make a list of things that maybe you could do in that area of your life, just one area of your life, where, you can break it down into more actionable, manageable steps. So activities shouldn't be any more than 20-25 minutes. And they should be able to take action. You should be able to take action, like calling a friend, like going for a cup of coffee, like handing a task back to somebody or asking for help. It should be actionable. You should be able to do it. With the understanding that if you step outside your comfort zone in a big way, it's going to feel very uncomfortable and you will retreat. But stepping outside our comfort zone a little bit, you're still going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it should only be a normal amount of discomfort, a small amount of discomfort, a small amount of anxiety about doing it. And the task is only going to take you anything from a minute to 25 minutes. The anxiety is not going to be there for long. You'll have done it. You'll have felt the fear and did it anyway, as they say. So that normal amount of, that little bit of discomfort is part of learning and growing, and it's normal, and that comes with the change, and we have to remember that. It's when we take the too big a step, it's when we find it's too uncomfortable, and then we retreat. And as I said, we can retreat really further back than where we were. So be very, very careful that we're bringing it back to the smaller steps. If that happens, try again. It's about regrouping, taking stock, and then trying again, because it's the trying again as well is all part of the learning and growing that brings about the change and the shift out of the comfort zone. So that's it. As I said, the questions, there's a number of questions for this week's blog. They're all in the blog. I'm leaving them in the description below, so do check them out. Thank you for watching, and thank you to everybody who watches in replay, both here on Facebook and on YouTube. So I will see you all next week. I can't remember what the topic is because I'm way ahead. For once, I'm way ahead with all my blogs. I'm into August at this point in writing my blogs. So, I'll see you next week. The blog will be out on Monday as usual. I'll do the Facebook Live next Friday at 2. and I'll see you then. Take care, and have a good weekend.